All right, thanks for coming, everybody. So first of all, excuse me for the jacket, but I'm freezing my rear end off in this place. I'm all the way here from Africa. The least you could do is put the heat on for me. Jeez. All right, so yeah, this is me. This is the point of this talk. I know it says Hackers for Charity Update, but that sounds a little bit like a news service or I don't know, something. But this is what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to I'm going to try to give you some advice. 2, I'm going to embarrass myself, and 3, I'm going to say thank you. So you have to keep me on track here, make sure I actually accomplish all this stuff. So let's get to it. You guys know how my interests work, or my intros work. This is me. You guys know me as this, and this, and this, and of course this. But after all of that stuff, I decided to do something a little bit crazy. So I quit my job, sold all of my stuff, and moved from here to here, which it looks really pretty in a black and white slide, and it looks very simple, but that's actually 21 and a half hours in the air to be here with you kind folks. So thank you very much. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why Uganda? You know, people have asked me this question over and over again. I try to explain it, the long version of the story, but the short version of the story is, Uganda is really no different than any other place. I mean, they have their own rules. This is a nice little sign I saw that says, "Do not urinate, fine of 50,000 shillings." So, they have rules. I can do a lot of the stuff that I'm used to doing. I can still go out for breakfast, and I can go through and get some drive-through chicken, and when I'm a little bit hungry. Drive-through comes in a couple different forms. This is the other drive-through chicken guy. I live in a nice house with a shiny, prickly red gate where a nice man named Joseph looks after us. I traded in the minivan for this nice, sturdy truck, and my kids are happy to let you know they have pets. This one they named Fred, and this one is Tony. He had a posse. So we got a cat to get rid of the posse. And unfortunately, the thing I'm thinking is, this is Africa, right? The circle of life. What eats cats? That's, I guess, what we got to worry about next. But we have all the modern conveniences. This is a Best Buy, and here's the Walmart, and here's the Target, and that's a Safeway. Yes, those are all the same exact places. That's basically all we got. Now, when I first got to Uganda, I was very whoa. Should I just turn this off? Is that going to tick anybody off? Go on. Right, you guys have heard some of my stories about this stuff. There was internet, but you had to follow an equation. What I had to do is I had to add this plus this plus this to get something that looked like this to get something that looked like this. Can't tell you how fun YouTube is at 10K.
They can't.
You can't hear me? All right, so let's kill the feedback. Let's try some that. Yeah, it's on. Ready? Let's go less hot. A bit. Hello, test. Better? Okay. All right. If there's any more pain, I'm turning it off again. Just kidding. I'm giving you a hard time. All right, so, but anyway, Uganda isn't all that bad. It's just like any other place. They have problems, of course. It's just the problems there are a bit more deadly than other places. Sometimes a bit irritating. The naughty goat thing is especially bad. I'm not going into any details. So this, of course, begs an obvious question, and I do get this. No, actually, I've never gotten this. Nobody's had the guts to ask me this in person. But I can tell from the looks on your faces, some people are just like, dude, what are you doing? I mean, after all, I had achieved some level of success in the industry. I had an awful lot of stuff going for me. But when this Uganda thing came along, I was kind of in this spot where despite all this stuff, I felt like my life didn't count for much. I didn't feel like I was making much of a difference. Now, some of you have seen me talk about this at DerbyCon 17, but because this is a new conference, I want to give everybody the full picture of how this thing came about at every new conference. So some of you might have seen this before, but I'm going to tell you my life story, and parts of it are embarrassing. Now, see, I was a pretty innocent kid, and I only wore lederhosen once, but that propelled me to a level of innocence that far succeeds most of you people. But there was a dark side. There was a dark side, and it started brewing at a very early age when I was introduced to this thing. How many of you have actually used one of these? Rock on. Excellent. Yeah, this is the TRS-80. I didn't own one of these, but there was one at the local mall. Radio Shack had one right out in the front. And basically what I would do is I would take my notepad with a pencil and I would write down computer programs. I would get books from the library and I'd write my programs on a pad of paper, and then I'd go to Radio Shack and then I'd type them in and then I'd run them, and then I'd use this thing called an eraser, on the notepad to debug. That was my debugger. And I was so fascinated with these things, eventually, my parents bought me my own, and this was the computer that they bought me. The TI-99-4A, the Bill Cosby computer. And this is when things started to get elite. I started taking programming courses in my backyard under a tree with a black and white television. And there was something really interesting about this time that I hope a lot of you remember. This was a very magical time with technology. If you could program, if you knew how computers worked and you knew how to do all this kind of stuff, you were special. It wasn't common. Oh yeah, you code. What language? It was, oh, you program? It was this foreign thing. It was really a cool time. My next upgrade was to the Commodore 64. Yeah, I'm expecting more cheers as we get closer to current times. I had a modem. The modem, I believe this one was about 1200 baud, which is pretty close to the speeds I had in Africa when I moved there. But this setup connected me to a new group of people through BBSs. This was the first time that I was introduced to hackers. Although I don't really know if that was the common term at the time, but it was, the HPVAC groups, the hacking, freaking, viruses. What was the other one? Was that? Yeah. So I don't even remember the acronyms. That's how old I'm getting. But these people were different, right? They thought outside the box. They pushed the envelope, and they solved difficult problems very elegantly. It was a great group. With the knowledge that I got from this group, I started to tinker and experiment, and I learned, and I just was a sponge at this time of my life. I mean, I couldn't read enough. And before I knew it, I had my first identity. The first thing that I could call myself as part of a group I was a hacker. So even though at 12 I looked like this, unbelievable, I hoped that one day I would look something like this. And I remember sneaking around in my neighborhood with spy gear and a ninja sword made out of a dowel rod, and spy gear made out of Lego bricks, and I would be a super high-tech ninja digital spy nerd. It was terrible. But in reality, even though I thought all these things, were pretty cool, I was just an average guy. I did absolutely no homework in school, and I aced all my tests, so that gave me a solid C average, which is, it's like an A for an average guy, right? That's what you strive for. Everything about me was average. I got my first 386. My dad got a deal through some guy at work, brought home a 386, so that opened the door to Windows and Linux. And I just started playing